first step is to dice the tomatoes. I prefer them, you can get some idea of the size by how I'm cutting them there. I like them fairly small. You need a really good sharp knife to do this. It makes the work really easy. These are pretty small, but that makes them easier to dip up with when you're putting them onto the... This is about 6 tomatoes, about medium size. As you can see, you don't need to make a whole lot more for just 1 or 2 people because of the fact that it doesn't keep very well after it's refrigerated. The tomatoes begin to taste old. The next step is to chop the onion. For this much Peco, I'm using a small sweet onion. I like the sweet onion better than the others for the simple reason that I think it gives a Peco a better taste. You can watch to put the onion in the food processor, chop it in here, and I'm going to chop it not real fine, just well chopped up is the main thing. Then take the onion and put it in with the tomatoes. Of course, the more tomatoes you have, the more onion you're going to need. But this is my first step here. And if it doesn't have enough onion flavor, you can always add a little more to it. The best way I found to make it is to flavor it as you go. Therefore, you get a nice even blend of all the flavors. And you mix the onion with the tomatoes. As you can see, you'll be able to see the small chunks of onion, and the reason for using a food processor is the fact that the onion is not such big chunks when you eat it, and it doesn't have such an overpowering taste. Once in a while you get the core of a tomato, you need to pull that out of there. Okay. The next step is to add the lime juice. Now, I prefer a fresh lime. You can use just the regular lime juice that you buy if you want to. But I found this has a little better flavor to it. It's a little more trouble. You'll probably want to use about the juice of 1 lime. What I normally do is take this, cut the meat out of the lime, then put this in the food processor, and puree it. Then I'll usually add just a little bit more lime juice to that, just a squirt so that I get plenty of lime juice in there. Okay, and I'll take a strainer, take this out of here, okay, pour this into the strainer. You don't want to get the pith and the center of the limes into your Peco because it has a bitter taste to it. This way you can get all the juice in there. I take that, And this will usually yield about somewhere in the neighborhood of an ounce to an ounce and a half of lime juice. After you do that, then mix your lime juice over the tomatoes and the onion. I usually put about all of it. If you need more, all you got to do is just put a squirt of just regular lime juice in there. As you'll notice, it's starting to get soupy now. This is good, depending on how ripe your tomatoes are, is about how much soup you'll get. Now the next step is to add some salt. I use it's kosher, coarse sea salt. And I don't do it real fancy. I found it's better to take your fingers. That's 3 pinches. I then take it, mix it up good, and taste it. If it suits me, I'll put the peppers in next. There's another core, one of those tomatoes in there. And if it tastes good now, that way the next step is to add the jalapeno peppers. Now, this is kind of a critical part because you never know how hot these jalapenos are going to be. So first you want to take them, get the seeds out of them. That way they're not quite so just burn you up hot. As you can see, I just take the pith and the seeds out of them like so. This is about the easiest way. Again, you really need good sharp knives to do this. And don't rub your face and hands while you're doing this either. Because if the jalapenos are very sharp, very hot, then I usually wash the seeds out of them. And once again, chop them up into fairly small pieces. Boy, this is a hot pepper. It's burning my eyes. Boy. So that tells me when you get that I want to be careful when I go to adding this, or I'll have it so hot it'll bring tears to a glass eye. Okay. Now, you want to chop the peppers just pretty fine, about as fine as you can get them. This little food processor is not the best one in the world, but it works pretty good. Okay, now, this is where you want to add the peppers and taste as you go, because, like I said, you can get it so hot you'll ruin it. It depends on how hot you like it. As you can see, I'm going to put about a half a pepper in there and mix it up good. And then taste it. If you see any big chunks that don't get chopped up good, throw them out, because that big mouthful of pepper might be more than you want at one time. Okay. Now, you're just going to be able to stand all of that one pepper. I can taste it, but it can be just a little bit hotter. Oh. That'll be plenty hot when it sets about an hour. It won't be killer, but it'll be hot enough that you'll know you're eating a pepper. Okay. All right.
I'm off to the wars.
All right. See you later, hon.
Give me a kiss.
All right, just a second. Okay, the next step is to put in the cilantro. This is fresh cilantro. Bought it at Walmart and gave $1 a bunch for it. I usually just cut up the whole bunch, put the rest of it that I don't use in a sealed container in the refrigerator. It'll keep several days. The best thing to do is just shake it out good take it. It's already been washed. And I try to cut it off to where I don't get hardly any of the stem. That stem has a real bitter taste and is stronger than the leaf. As you can see, and I like that. Then I take it and I cut it into pieces about 3/4 of an inch to an inch long. Then I add it to the food processor. I try to put some stems on the bottom. As you go on up, you get less stems. Just pack it in there because you're going to actually puree this. This way you don't get those big bites in there that you get sometimes. Cilantro's pretty good as a taste, but you don't really want to eat a leaf of it. A little bitter tasting. Let me see. Now, this takes a minute to do because it's hard take it, and a few leaves up the top. I'll get those out of there. We don't want to put those in the Peco. I'm going to take and push it all down around the blades. Now there's a few stems in there. This is what I was talking about. These stems don't grind up good. And they're a little bitter tasting, a little strong tasting. I believe that's pretty close there. Now the best way to add this is to take it, wash your cutting board off, like this, and dump it out. Either I use a plate usually, just a plastic plate. Just dump it out onto this. Therefore, if you've got any big leaves or stems in there, you can find them, and you don't have to pick them out of the Peco this way. It's almost impossible. If you've got a really good food processor, it'll chop it up better than this one. I just don't own a real good one. There's a few of the stems that I was talking about. You can see me picking them out this way. Now, what I usually do is just take this right here and start adding it until I can see it good in the Peco. And also, one reason when you puree it like that, the flavor is more, it makes the cilantro come to life more, and you actually makes it have more flavor. It doesn't take quite as much. Again, Gloria likes a lot of cilantro, so consequently I make a little extra for her. If you don't like as much, you can, but again, by doing it this way, you can taste it as you go. And that's approaching the perfect point. Now, one thing you might want to do is about now. If you didn't add enough salt, you begin to tell what it's going to taste like. And sometimes it's not quite enough salt in there, depending on how salty you like it. It doesn't take much of that coarse salt to go a long way. Now, as you can see, I've got quite a bit of cilantro left, so I'm just going to put that in a container in the refrigerator. And if I want to make some more in 3 or 4 days, I don't have to go get extra cilantro. I've got some to put in here and already chopped up and ready to use. And it keeps good in the refrigerator. Cilantro is also good in eggs and other things. If you scramble eggs, it makes a real good flavor in that. And in a lot of other dishes that you can use it in. It's a pretty good spice to cook with. And you should now have some really great Peco. As you can see, that is 6 tomatoes, and this is a 36-ounce bowl. So it'll give you some idea as to how much Peco that 6 tomatoes will make. It's best to refrigerate it and let it sit for at least a couple of hours until it gets cold. It seems to have a little better flavor. But that will give you some idea as to what 6 tomatoes will make. And that is a lot of dipping right there. Especially for just 1 or 2 people to eat. It'll be hard to eat that up before it gets old on you. Okay.